Good evening and welcome to tonight's episode of Here's My 2 Cents with me, Keith 2 Cent Sanders. So here we are. We're 2 weeks in. Joe is still signing away. President wants to more than double the minimum wage. CNN wants to cancel Fox. The media continues to play patty cake with the White House staff, and Jen Psaki is going to be circling back around any minute now. With all that being said, here's my 2 cents on democracy dying in the light. So for 4 years, on the top of the Washington Post, it said democracy dies in darkness. And they made the constant comparisons of the president being a dictator, being an authoritarian. He wasn't going to leave the office. This is something we talked about last week, and I wanted to carry it over to this week. Now we have a president who's sitting there day by day, signing. And it's been nothing but executive orders. So as I said last week, with nothing but signing, Congress nowhere to be found, apparently democracy also dies in the light, unless it's CNN covering it or MSNBC or those other liberal media sites. Not here on RAMtv..Live, RAMtv.Live. Here, you're going to continue to find a conservative approach. If you're not with us on this conservative approach, you go somewhere else. You can look somewhere else. I want you here, but we want you staying with the conservative message and understanding that they are trying to silence you. They're also trying to lull you to sleep, which is something that we talked about last week. Now, in regards to what this liberal media is doing towards Biden, because I said they're continuing to play patty cake with them, there's been no pushback, none whatsoever, barely any, to the concept that Joe is just signing everything. Then there was a question about the amount of them, and of course, he gets away with just saying, I'm undoing bad policy. And that became the talking point. That became the standard answer. On all my social media posts, the lemmings just went forward. Joe said it was so. The media echoed it, and it was just repeated ad nauseum by the lemmings that are going to continue to say, CNN, tell me what to say. MSNBC, tell me what to say. They're not going to think for themselves. They're not going to objectively look at what's happening. They're not going to be honest with themselves with what is actually happening. This hypocrisy is never going to end. We can continue to get mad about it. We continue to get upset. But at the same time, we can't just get upset about it. We have to continue, like I said a moment ago, to find our own information, to be sure to support this smaller conservative message. They want to continue to silence us. Something that we continue to talk about here is the censorship. They like to call it fact-checking. In reality, it's censorship. We're going to get into that a little bit more later about that slippery slope and how fast that slope actually accelerates. So I mentioned just a second ago the concept that the president is just simply signing away bad policy. So which bad policies exactly has he been signing away? The policies that put in place the lowest unemployment that we've ever seen, policies that increase wages for the first time in over a decade, policies that help to increase home ownership, policies that created no new wars, and worst of all, I'm sure, policies that made us energy independent. You had 4 years of constant energy costs. And that was because we were not dependent on the Middle East. That was why the war that's going on in Yemen didn't affect your pocketbook or your wallet. Because every time something sparks up in the Middle East and when we're dependent on their oil, our prices go up, our cost of living goes up here for what's going on over there. We all know that Joe said that this is bad energy policy, but that energy policy made us energy independent. He made us promises over and over again that he was not going to cut fracking. Juan, play for me cut one, and let's see what he had to say about that.
Look, let me be clear also. I'm not banning fracking in Pennsylvania or anywhere else. Let me be clear. No matter how many lies he tells, I am not banning fracking, period. I am not banning fracking. Let me say that again. I am not banning fracking, no matter how many times Donald Trump lies about me. New high-paying union jobs. Let me be clear. I will not ban fracking.
He's not going to ban fracking, he says, right? How many times did he say it there? And that was just a few of the clips. And also, I think on that last one, as clear as he was talking, he might have also promised us true and added pressure. I'm never going to let that one go. I promise. I'm just never going to let that one go. He told us time and time again, I just showed it to you, he is not going to cut fracking. period, here in Pennsylvania or anywhere else. Of course, Pennsylvania was a massive get for him, even though I disagree with what happened there. But apparently in the courts, I was proven otherwise because it was never taken up. But I digress. He had to make a point that he wasn't going to do it in Pennsylvania, but he also said the words or anywhere, apparently other than the places that he can. So he very specifically has the federal authority to get rid of what Trump had put in place, those policies I talked about earlier that gave us energy independence. With that energy independence, we had one steady oil rate, and we were able to withstand what was happening in the Middle East, as I had mentioned earlier. Now let's talk about the concept here of lying. Even though the media is going to continuously tell us that they don't lie, they're just putting in all the credit that they're telling the truth. They're telling the truth. So when things like this happen, you just need some context. It's not that he's lying, it's that you're wrong. You're wrong. Joe Biden's not going to be lying to anyone. And I can show you because your context is wrong. The way the media approaches this, and after what they did to Donald Trump and everyone that was associated with him for 4 years, this exact reversal to start making excuses for the administration, to stop asking questions, to place upon you a topic I called just shoving nothing on you. Last week, we talked about the idea they're going to continue to shove so much nothing on you, which is intended to get you essentially to stop looking. What they're doing has massive effects on the country, massive effects on the country. And I dare to say that it might have something to do with some of this division that we continue to see, even though Biden's going to go up there in front of his 2,000 people at his inauguration and say that we're going to push for unity. I don't know if you guys caught it in that video clip. You had the roaring applause of the 8 to 10 supporters that were out there, or apparently the 81 million supporters that were out there every time he was out in front of the cameras lying about his intention for fracking. He is making massive cuts to our economy and to our future with no unity, no bipartisanship, no reaching across the aisle. It's just purely, we're here now, we're going to make all the decisions. And when he does that, is that him caring about the working people? Is that him caring about the people who put on their boots every day, who get up before the sun is up, who go out there, work all day, come home after the sun is down to put food on the table for their families? Those types of folks. When he does this, he affects those types of people, but he doesn't care about those types of people. He doesn't. We know that. We know he doesn't care about those types of people. He knows that he's got donors that come from the green energy sector, and Obama did this before him. He knows that he's outflanked and outmaneuvered to his left by the squad and other progressives. And we all know that he has no backbone. None. If you for a second think that he's calling any of these shots, you are sorely mistaken. And I still stand here to say within 9 months, they're going to push him out. Mark it down. Guys, I want you to hold me accountable on that one. So let's talk about what's going to happen as he does things like shut down the Keystone Pipeline, as he continues to put the squeeze on the energy and our energy independence. When we do that, the price for fuel goes up. And they want to make these small claims and say, well, it's just a little bit here, it's just a little bit there. That's always the answer. The answer is it's always just a little bit. Go back about a decade or so when people were paying about $4 a gallon. Everything that you consume comes on a truck. Trucks use fuel. When the cost of fuel goes up, the cost to get it to you goes up, the cost for you to buy it, imagine this, goes up. So as we continue to put the squeeze on people in the name of energy, how is he phrasing it? Of clean energy. In the name of clean energy, we're going to put the squeeze on middle America. We're going to put the squeeze on the working men and women of this country in the name of clean energy. Even though under Trump, we led every nation on this planet in our reduction of our carbon footprint. Every year. We did it without a Paris Accord agreement. We did it without sending billions of dollars to other countries. And we did it without shutting down drilling offshore, the XL pipeline, and other access to fracking. When we do this, there are second and third order effects, and it's going to increase costs. Now, who does increased costs hurt the most? The people at the top, the people at the middle, or the people at the bottom? It's pretty simple to see. A 50-cent increase in the gas is a bigger proportional amount to the people at the bottom who are struggling than the people in the middle and at the top. We're going to get to what they want to do to the middle class a little bit later on. So what is the fix? If this is going to get more expensive for people, what is the fix? I think you know the answer. More money. More money. Just shove it in their pockets. You don't have to put in policies that are going to reduce cost. You have to put more money into people's pockets. So, of course, in the $1.9 trillion COVID relief plan, which we're going to get into a little bit more later, they want to more than double the minimum wage. We're going to go all the way up to $15 an hour, and some progressives are calling for $20 an hour. He might get outmaneuvered and push all the way to 20. I posted a video on TikTok about it, and some of the responses I got were just absolute gems. The one I loved the absolute most was, well, if you can't afford as a business owner to pay a living wage, then you don't deserve to be in business. Well, guess what? We're not socialists here. You entered into an agreement with a business owner of your own accord because you wanted to voluntarily. That owner owes you nothing other than to what you agreed to and a safe work environment. You want to increase your money, you increase your money. Pay, work, pay, get your way up and out. If you do not know what you can do, you can look it up. Everyone's got the internet. There's grants, there's scholarships, there's ways to get into trades without having to pay. If you want to work your way up, work your way up. Save your money. Stop buying Jordans. Stop buying the newest iPhone. Delay the gratification. Make sacrifices. Work the job, study at night, do the extra work. It's hard. It's not easy. It's not going to happen overnight, but it's definitely not going to happen when you line up at 3 o'clock in the morning to buy the newest Jordans. On to some more of these great pieces of feedback that I got. I really like this one. This one was my second favorite. This increase will not increase cost of living. So I made the point that as you raise the minimum wage, especially by more than doubling it, rather than it keeping up with inflation, it's going to drive inflation. And I cannot tell you how many people came back at me and said, this isn't going to raise the price of things. Okay. If that's the case, let's pay everybody $1 billion an hour. That's it. We're all billionaires now. We're going to have yachts and we're going to go on vacation and we're going to live in mansions because everyone's getting $1 billion an hour. It makes no sense when you say those sorts of things because you don't have an understanding, because you're just being told more money for me. How about we reduce regulations? How about we increase competition? How about we remove a reliance on the foreign energy? How about we sign deals that favor America? Does any of this sound familiar? Any of it sound familiar? These are all the bad policies I mentioned at the beginning that Joe is signing away. Joe's getting rid of these bad policies. Now with these bad policies gone, costs are going to go up. They're going to disproportionately affect the people at the bottom who are struggling. How are we going to help those people? Put more money in their pocket. And then, of course, people do not realize that it's going to get more expensive. So I think there's a lot of people right now who, when they went to the polls, voted against Trump. I think there's a lot of them. I've seen a lot of people in my social media who had said, I did not vote for Joe. I voted against Trump. And I think a great deal of those were the ones who didn't come out for Hillary, and they voted against Trump on this one. I wonder where this I want to vote against Trump came from. I wonder where it came from. Could it be from 92% negative press coverage for over 4 years? Could it come from every single thing that they look at telling them that orange man bad? That you had to do it, that the other side is evil? Do you want to be with us, the good, or be with them, the evil? That's always the difference between Democrats and Republicans. Republicans think the Democrats are wrong. Democrats think the Republicans are evil. They draw that line and they perpetuate it everywhere. So we talked for a second about the media maybe having something to do with that. Where did this anti-Trump vote come from? The media pushed it, and the media got what they want. Now the media wants more. They want to get fed. CNN specifically needs to be fed. Juan, can you play for me CNN? Cut 2 about CNN.
What MSNBC does or some of these other outlets do with what Fox does is nonsensical. there are outlets that have opinion hosts, but they're playing in the real world, in the world of facts and reality. And Fox is spinning its own reality. And to suggest that there's an equivalence between the two, I think is not accurate and something we should really be careful to avoid.
Yep, there's the objective CNN out there advocating for their competition to be canceled. There's no cancel culture, by the way. There's no cancel culture. They'll also tell you that. Good old Brian Stelter will tell you that infringing on your freedom of speech is not the same as infringing on your freedom of reach. Well, it's pretty simple. If I can't reach anyone because you have taken away my reach, you have effectively taken away my speech. But here we have the trustworthy, most trusted name in news, CNN, and they're telling you that they want to get rid of other news outlets, that they're not operating in reality. So let's apply their logic to other outlets just for a quick second. Let's apply this logic that if you're not in what's called reality, if you're reporting misinformation, if you're reporting information that turns out to not be true, their logic, if you apply their logic to another outlet, let's say we'll apply it to CNN. Does Russia ring a bell? Juan, play for me cut 3. Let's see what they had to say about Russia.
You have to separate this from what you can prove beyond a reasonable doubt. That's Bob Mueller's job, and just general collusion, which is offensive and concerning. I've seen plenty of evidence of collusion. We have very good circumstantial evidence that the Trump team, the family, the businesses were eager to work and were working with the Russians while the Russians were helping them. And I think in the court of law, that's enough.
My next guest. Here are 18 reasons Trump could be a Russian asset. Max Boot is a columnist for The Washington Post, a senior fellow for the Council on Foreign Relations, and a CNN global affairs analyst. 18 reasons Trump could be a Russian asset. How many years in journalism have you been? How many years?
Many years.
Many years. Did you ever think you'd be writing this piece?
No. I mean, this is like something out of the Manchurian Candidate or the Americans. I mean, this is the realm of spy fiction becoming reality. It would have seemed bonkers until Trump, but it's not bonkers anymore.
So let's go through what is not bonkers.
There it is, folks. CNN cancels CNN. God forbid we apply logic to anything. God forbid we apply someone else's logic back on them. Years they pushed that. They put that man up there and said it is not bonkers to accuse the president of being a Russian asset. That talking head said it's not bonkers to accuse Trump of being an agent of Russia. This is the slippery slope that we're talking about. If you apply this, you can't stop applying it. But of course, if you're the one applying it, it's not going to be applied back to you. They're going to start with Alex Jones. They're going to continue on with other extremists as they label them. Then you end up with the sitting president of the United States, censored. Now you're looking at stations shutting down other stations where they disagree. When we disagree with you, we will shut you down.
We expect these additional 200 million doses to be delivered this summer. And some of it will come as begin to come in early summer, but by the midsummer that this vaccine will be there. And the order, and that increases the total vaccine order in the United States by 50%, from 400 million order to 600 million. This is enough vaccine to fully vaccinate 300 Americans by end of the summer, the beginning of the fall. But we want to make, look, I want to repeat, it'll be enough to fully vaccinate 300 Americans.
You heard it, folks, 300 people. Did that one play all the way through? I'm not sure if we got that one to play all the way through. Well, we have the President of the United States telling us that he's going to get 300 people vaccinated. Said it twice. If Trump had done that, can you imagine for days going on and on and on? 25th Amendment, they'd be screaming. Sorry about that. It gets tough. So let's talk about the COVID relief package. That's $1.9 trillion. Never mind that he said it was going to be $2,000 cut to everyone right away. He's now saying $1,400. He doesn't have to be held accountable for that, folks. It's going to be $1,400, could be $1.9 trillion. Where is that money going to go? Who cares? Keep spending. Who cares? Just keep on spending. It's not like this money has previously gone to gender studies in Pakistan, to the Kennedy Arts Center more than once. More money, billions of dollars going over to other countries countries that if you ask the average American, they couldn't find it on a map. If you ask somebody who's probably really good at geography, probably couldn't find it on a map, but who cares? We're just going to keep spending this money. Now, something to keep in mind, folks, is they don't even need 60 votes. They don't need any help with this. And they've already declared that they're not going to try to get any help with this. They're trying something called the Vote-A-Rama right now, which is essentially where they're going to keep putting amendments on it. And with these amendments, they're going to force the Democrats to officially go on record as a voting against things as they don't want to end or that they want to end the filibuster, and that they don't want to ensure that the schools are going to open and so forth. But the media is not going to push it, and the people who vote for them are not going to care. Sorry about that. Technical difficulties. These things happen. We're going to press forward. I do apologize for that. Here's what I want to talk about. I want to talk about the COVID relief, $1.9 trillion, and the fact that we're just continuing to spend this money. And it doesn't matter where it goes because you have absolutely no say in it. Unless you voted for Biden and you voted for the idea that there's not going to be unity, there's not going to be anybody working across the aisle with each other. We're just going to cram through any and everything that we want. We'll send money off to Pakistan. We'll send money to other countries. We'll send money to the Kennedy Arts Center and so on. But of course, that gets into the $15 minimum wage, which they have conveniently tucked into that package. So never let a good crisis go to waste. So we have a massive crisis, one like we've never seen before, and an amount that we thought was an absolutely ridiculous amount when it was first brought up a few years ago. $15 an hour is being added to this bill. As a result, you're going to have massive inflation. And another thing that's going to happen is people are going to lose their jobs because companies have to operate within the margins and they have to have certain costs. So what they're going to do is they're going to cut hours, you lose money. They're going to cut jobs, you lose your job. Or unfortunately, a lot of them are going to go out of business. And then guess what? You lose your job. Now let's talk about a little bit of reality. Reality here is $7.25 is probably too low and it hasn't been raised in years. I believe 2009 might have been the last one. And as a result, yes, that doesn't make sense to keep it that low. But to more than double is absolutely insane. It's insanity. It's complete pandering to the left and taking advantage of the fact that people do not understand you're not going to make twice as much money. You're going to have twice as much money and everything is going to cost twice as much. And here's the big one when it comes to this, folks. When you raise from $7.25 up to $15 an hour, that is still the minimum. Let it sink in. It is still the minimum. And because we don't, in this country, have our government control all means of production, which is to say they do not set the prices for things, we have capitalism, your money is only going to be worth a little bit more for a very short amount of time. Let me give you an example of why. When you have a top-down approach like this, where the federal government is setting for everyone what it's going to be, it doesn't apply the same everywhere that you go. Here's an example. If you're an EMT starting out in New York City, you're going to make $14 an hour. And if you're upstate in the same exact state, but in different regions, one's a major metropolitan and one is upstate where they have a lot of farming. If you go upstate, it'll be $12.50. So you're going to get one of two things that are going to happen here. Those that have been educated, those that have sought out this certification, those that are held to a higher standard and have proven they can be held to a higher standard are going to look at their situation and they're going to say, hey, why don't I go down and flip burgers, not be held to as high a bar and not be asked as much and make more money? Now you have competition going up at the lower level. Or they stay where they are and they say, hey, I can leave and go flip burgers for $15 an hour, or you can pay me a comparable wage. Now, guess what? As said before, your minimum is still the minimum. Everything above you is going to compensate and you're going to be at the bottom. We don't need to be shoving money into people's pockets. What we need to be doing is lowering costs through competition, lowering costs through deregulation. Lowering costs through great trade deals that bring jobs back to the country, lowering costs, and also actually raising wages, which is what President Trump was able to do. So we've got a decent sample so far of what this president's going to do, what this administration's going to do, and what the media is going to do. President Biden, and I can't believe I have to say President Biden, is going to rule as he sees fit. And I'm using that word on purpose. I truly am. I know that he sees himself as a ruler and he's going to fix this country. The media says he's going to fix this country. Academia, Hollywood, big tech says he's going to fix this country. And part of fixing this country, folks, is fixing you. If you disagree with the election, if you don't believe the results of the election, if you backed Trump, they're going to continue to draw a line and say you're on this side or you're crazy. You're on this side or you're with the insurrectionists. You're on this side or you are bad people who need to be reprogrammed, as Katie Couric told us. There's not going to be unity here. There's not going to be any bipartisanship. There shall only be liberal policies. That's all you're going to be allowed to see. And they're going to apply it everywhere they can from a top-down approach. Top-down approaches do not work. Federalism works. Local and state governments work. What's good for you in your region isn't good for everyone. This is what a lot of people on the coast and in the cities do not understand. There is life outside of the cities. There is life away from the coast. And where people want to live that way, they should be able to live that way. There's mass exoduses happening out of these blue states and these blue cities out to the red states. The state gaining the most right now is Tennessee. Another one that's a surprise on that list is Boise. There's a lot of people from Washington and Northern California flooding into Idaho. And a great deal of them are also running down to Texas. Now that's fine and that's good. You can vote with your feet. You need to be able to vote with your feet. But folks, when you get there, do not vote in the policies that you left behind. When you see those policies which raise poverty, not get people off of poverty, but raise the amount of poverty that there is. When you see the crime going up, when you see the justice system defending the criminals and not the victims, when you see your cost of living go through the roof due to the massive amount of government programs that pay for people who are here illegally in some instances, and you leave that behind, leave it behind. By all means, vote with your feet. Come to Florida. We'd love to have you here. Go to Texas, go to Idaho, go to Tennessee, go where you want to go. Live how you want to live. I'm not here to tell you how to do, but just keep in mind you left those policies behind. And if you voted against Trump and you didn't vote for Biden, pay attention to what he's doing. Pay attention. Is this your democracy? Is this your democracy thriving in the light, or is it dying in the light? Is this your democracy where we look at the minority and we make sure that they're involved and that folks in other areas are heard too? Or is it's our way now? We're going to push upon you everything we want, and we can, and we will. If you voted against Trump, take a look at what's going to happen, the cultural shifts that are going to continue to happen in this country. If you're okay with biological boys competing with our biological girls for the same scholarships, for the same opportunities, then I'm happy for you. If you voted against Trump, and that's not necessarily something that you are for, take a tally. Make sure that's not something you're willing to vote for again in the future. When 2022 comes around, make sure you're putting in someone that you vote for. We can take back the House. We have to take back control of the Congress as well. If you voted for Trump, if you voted against Trump, and now you're seeing what's actually going on, don't forget it. If you're a Trump supporter, you're a conservative, you're a patriot, and you did not trust what happened in that election, do not let them make you forget. Do not let them put so much nothing upon you that they get what they want. We have to organize. We have to write our representatives. We have to form our groups. We have to be heard. There's a little bit of a negative tone tonight. I do want to thank everyone that was here. I do apologize for the technical difficulties that we had. I had some pretty good support over here on my social media live. We'll be back again next week at 7:30 p.m. I appreciate everyone that was here. And with all that being said, that's been my 2 cents.
it is necessary to purge the establishment.
What she's suggesting that churches do, a focus on...
That's not necessarily a good thing to start with.
They're stating it wasn't around when we needed the greatest generation of the 30s or 40s.
It happened before the election because there are too many Republicans that are afraid that their wrongdoings are going to...
It's unacceptable, and I'm not going to sit here, stay silent, and not call it out. I'm calling out the lies.
With rules for Thanksgiving. Who the hell is he to tell us what we're supposed to do?
Do they think that we are so stupid that we will not